All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashen. Within the West African tradition, the Yoruba tradition in particular, um, there's a lot to be said about the death of an elder. And it's commonly said of Africa in general that when an elder dies, it's like a library has been burnt down. And this is because of the oral tradition. The elder contains so much knowledge and experience that cannot be retrieved once they've gone on. And it is sometimes equally true about the loss of a youth. Of course, loss and death is always tragic. If it's an elder, or if it's a youth, we always feel the tragedy of the loss. But what I mean is that sometimes you have a young person whose contribution, is such that when you look at the trajectory of their life, you can anticipate that if it's true that the death of an elder represents the burning of a library, the death of a promising youth is like the burning of, like a whole city's worth of libraries, multiple libraries, because we don't know the limit of their influence. And so today, um, I'm mourning the loss of my beloved student, Fayinde Asunjo. And um, it is something that mm, is beyond real uh, explanation. The words never really reveal feelings the way that we want them to. You can never articulate your emotion quite as clearly as you can feel it. At least that's my experience. I don't have that capacity. Um, I feel like, back in the old days, way before we had these nice digital cameras and stuff like that, I started traveling and going into the tropics with with a disposable camera. These little $5 cameras you buy, and it's camera and the film all in it, and you just take the pictures and you turn the whole thing back in and have them developed like that. It didn't take high quality pictures, and you go down into the jungle and you're taking pictures in the bush and you're taking these leaves and this bird in the tree, and then you get them all developed and you look and you're like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Who took this picture? That's not because the picture doesn't capture the humidity, it doesn't capture the smells, it doesn't capture the breeze, it doesn't capture all the layers of sound, the wind and the trees and the birds and the bugs and the animals. All that is lost, right? Especially when you got a digital camera. So I find that words are very much like that when I'm trying to really um, capture the emotion of a moment. And so, a moment like this, there are no real words. But at the same time, um, it would be negligent on my part not to say the words that I have at my disposal to try to approximate the significance of Fayinde to my life and to the lives of so many others. I met Fayinde at a time in my life and a time in my career when I was, you know, mm, bunkered down, and very hesitant to participate in the public discourse surrounding our tradition anyway. anything that had to do with Orisha, I was not quite a recluse, but getting there. I am as extroverted as I am introverted, and so it's only with reluctance that I say what I say anyway. And so, because of things that were happening in my life, um, I really wasn't so into it. I wasn't interested in being out there in the public like that, and I really wasn't interested in taking on new students, and I certainly was not going to have anything that anybody was going to call a godchild. Okay. And it had everything to do with the fact that I had, you know, personal strife that had been publicized strategically to undermine me and to make me feel, reluctant to get out there, right? And so I met Fine Day at this time, and she came for a reading, and then she, came back and made the elbow, and we started talking, and I could, she made it clear that she wanted to continue her studies with me, and um, I said, well, I'm going through some stuff, and I'm not really into it. And you should know, as a matter of fact, go out there and you should do a little search because there's stuff going on. This is the reality. This is how it's being presented, but you should know what is being said before you commit to working with me. And Fine Day, much to my surprise, said, "Oh, I know. I followed the whole thing from the very beginning. From the very beginning, I've read the play by play. I know blow by blow. I know all the characters, and I know exactly what's being said. I read it all." And knowing Fine Day, she had done exactly that. And so I was taken aback. I said, "Oh, okay." She said, "Yeah." And after I read it and I followed it over, a year, I have determined, after seeing your full response and all of the work that you've done in the wake of all that, and I said, this is the person who has to guide my spiritual journey. And that was a defining moment in my career, because I knew that I had to fulfill my obligation, right, to this individual. Uh, and this obligation, not only to this individual, but my obligation to my work, to my craft, my mission. I know what I'm sent here to do, and I would like to be able to choose the way I do it, but there are those defining moments that tell you, yeah, I know you think that you know what you want to do, but we're going to give you a new variable to consider that's going to change the way you see things and the way you do things. And so I took it. And I decided to start working with Fine Day and teaching her. And I am so glad. I have been so glad every minute of every hour of every single day that I have worked with Fine Day. I'm so thankful, right? Because she has been a magnificent student, a magnificent student. And um, we, we did our work together in the Ifa shrine. And at the time, I had recently started visiting Trinidad, and I learned about the practices of Trinidad, and particularly something they call mourning, 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 like mourning the dead. Very interesting. And so I was intrigued by it, and I wanted to do it. And then the more I learned about it, and I'm simultaneously working with Fine Day, the more I understood, like, wow, this this practice is in totally in alignment with the way Fine Day's gifts are set up. And although I wanted to do mourning because it intrigued me, I thought this is something though that is really right up her alley. This is going to amplify her abilities considerably. And so I said, you know what? This is something that I've learned about, and I want you to try it. But I couldn't just volunteer her to do it without knowing what it was myself. So I did it with her, right? And um, it was phenomenal. I was really blown away by the experience that I had and the kind of connection I had to the spirits through this ceremony. And I honestly got a lot of respect for Fighting Day in the process, because I said, wow, this is where you live. This is how you operate on a day-to-day basis. Oh, wow. Incredible. Once is enough for me. I'm not going back for seconds and thirds, but I tip my hat, because it's not for the faint at heart, being able to walk with the spirits that way and experience them so deeply. So going there and doing that with Fine Day was another really important aspect of our journey together. And then a couple of years later, we went to West Africa, and we completed her Orisha initiation, her Idoshu to Ashun and to Egbe. And it was really beautiful to see, that how competent she was. And let me back up and say, when I we were mourning, we were doing the ritual in Trinidad. There's a point at which the spirit totally takes over you, but you're constantly praying and meditating and fasting and constantly praying. And so they call upon you in the temple. They say, and they pray. And so while we're there, we're in total darkness now, right? We are in total darkness. We've been sequestered for days. And Fine Day starts to pray. And when she starts to pray, she's reciting Otura Orico, right? She's reciting Otura Orico line for line for line. And I thought to myself, wow, that's beautiful, Otura Orico. Find it. Where is she? How is she reading this? And then I thought, well, she's not reading nothing. She's blindfolded. We've been here for days. And I realized, oh, this Fine Day is something else. She's been downloading. Anything I put in front of Fine Day, she absorbed it. If I do a ceremony in front of Fine Day, I chant a verse in front of Fine Day, she's downloading it. And I thought, oh, this woman is something else. She downloaded this Otoro Rico right before my very eyes. And then over and over, we had that experience where I'm explaining something. Okay, Fine Day, when this happens, you do this. And she's like, I know, Baba. I said, how you know? She said, you told me. When did I tell you? Don't you remember? 2 months ago, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, yes, I did tell you that. And I said, I got to be careful what I tell Fine Day, what I do in front of Fine Day, because she is downloading everything. And that's what kind of student Fine Day was, and kind of person Fine Day was. And it is exactly what I needed as a teacher and as a priest. But I think it's what every teacher needs. It's what every if you're a babalawo and you have students, you want a student like that. You want a student who's going to keep you sharp, who's going to make sure that you are clear about the fact that this person is looking to you for guidance and they are learning from you. And it really excited me and inspired me and encouraged me to do the work more and more and more deeply and sincerely. Fine Day validated my teachings for me. Fine Day, in a very short period of time, let me see that this is what is possible, if people adhere to the lessons. This is what can be, the result of actually trying to learn and absorb. And I'm thankful for that. I will always be thankful for that. And I hope and pray that all the teachers and the students in our tradition are thankful for the relationship that we share, the sacredness of it, the heartfelt sincerity of the relationship between teacher and student. And it reminds me of Ofun Yeku, Ofun Ajitena, the Holy Odu Ofun Yeku, tells us of a time when Orunmila cried, he wept for his student, Ajitena. Ajitena was Orunmila's right hand man. Everything Orunmila did, Ajitena helped. Ajitena supported him with all the consultations, all the rituals, all the ceremonies. Ajitena was indispensable, especially as it pertained to the initiation rites. And Ajitena became sick. And no matter what, Orunmila couldn't find the cure for Ajitena. And it got so bad that Orunmila wept. And he cried tears for Ajitena because Ajitena was such a good owl. Ajitena was such a noble owl. Ajitena was such an exemplary owl that Orunmila mourned the thought of losing Ajitena. And so it is that I I mourn the actual loss of my beloved Fayinde, and um, my prayers are with her soul that she will continue to sparkle and shine and lead with love and integrity and precision and excellence. Fayinde, you continue to be the example of how great a human being can be and how substantial our communication, excuse me, our contribution to our community can be if we are willing to engage our minds fully, to open our hearts fully, and to give all of our physical strength and capabilities to the cause of delivering on the ancestral promise. So I give thanks for your presence, and by extension, I give thanks for the presence of all of my students. And I praise all of your lineages and all of your order for bringing you to this world and bringing you onto this path with me for this portion of the journey. And if we travel together for 6 months or 6 years or beyond, I pray that our exchange together will be uplifting, it will be empowering, and it will be acceptable in the eyes of our ancestors, and it will be supported by the spirits of the Orisha, and ultimately that it will be accepted by Olodumare, the Supreme Being. And so I greet you all on the day of Awo, and um, I thank you all for your support over the years. I look forward to many more years of service to our ancestors and to the deities and to the tradition as a whole. Aboraboye, Aboshishe.